It's Friday, and you know what that means. I have to stick to my promise of writing a story. And I did. You'll find the Google Doc link of the entire read in my description. It's 6,000 words long, like I promised, and it's interesting, I guess. I have to say, this has been an interesting experience because I now realize how crucial it is to have a deadline. When I first posted that video last year saying that I was going to release a digital text story on January 8th and promote it in video form, I was tasked to find an idea that I could use as the start for my writing. Something I tried my best not to do was designing the entire world and plot threads before I even started writing it, because I feel like that's one of the reasons why I've been held back from writing. There's a series that has been on my mind for over a year, and I've developed a really strong connection with it that I can't bear to start writing it because I don't believe I'll do enough justice to it. But if I start off with a simple idea that hasn't been fleshed out in my head yet, it makes it easier for me to write it, and even then, it was the deadline I imposed and it motivated me to finish writing it. This story in particular, it's kind of funny because the ideas I had in mind when I first came up with it have actually changed, and it's to the point where right now, I'm actually very hesitant to say what the genre even is because I myself haven't settled on which direction I'll take, and to be honest, this actually feels good. I'm starting to understand what Robert Downey Jr. meant when he said that the writers of the MCU enjoyed writing themselves into a corner, because it's honestly pretty exciting. I'm definitely going to revisit this, and I'm confident it will become an ongoing series of mine. Although right now, I kind of want to write something else for the next 2 weeks because I really want to expand on the kinds of stories I could write, and I don't want to just solely focus on one. Now, as far as what I can say about the story, well, there are a couple of things. One, it's called Invisible Stamps, don't ask why. Two, it's a mystery. I don't think I can really hide that fact. What I will say is that the format is pretty weird in a sense that it's split between prologue and aftermath, which is very unusual, and there is actually an explanation for this. The character you'll see at first was actually the one I envisioned as the main character, but eventually I decided to switch protagonists, and the perspective of the story is going to change as well. So the real chapter 1 will come out the next time I revisit this series. Also, my initial idea was for this to be in first person perspective, but I don't think this is going to work very well. I started to realize that my writing felt very blog-ish, and I didn't really like it, so it's gonna be in third person. In fact, I came to confront a lot of my issues, like the fact that I tend to breeze through dialogue and I really suck at transitioning between scenes. There are a lot of other problems I have as a writer, and I hope to improve with time. There's also one thing I want to say. As I said before, there's a certain section of the book at the very end that's called Aftermath, and there's some information present there that might come off as confusing. I won't be too specific since I don't want to spoil what happened, but essentially, there are some odd details, and of course, since it's a mystery, the book doesn't explain everything at once. But then during the aftermath, there are some conclusions reached that contradict what had been shown during the prologue, and this will only get worse once we get to chapter 1. I just want to reassure that this is 100% intentional, and as the series goes, I'll eventually clarify on some of the smaller details. Also, this goes without saying, I'm not exactly the best storyteller ever, so if you do read this story, I apologize if it ends up being shit. This is my first day, so don't expect goodness from the get-go. Although, don't get me wrong, you're 100% free to criticize my work. I'm not preventing you from doing that, and I would actually appreciate it. Also, I underestimated how much time I truly needed to finish this, and while this is technically cheating, over time I might re-edit this doc just to correct a few grammar errors. I also might post this on some other sites like Wattpad, for example. If I do, I'll link it in the description. I'll also live stream my next Hiragana test later in the day, most likely around 11 PM GMT. Maybe I'll stick around to talk for a while, we'll see. Anyway, thank you all for watching, and see y'all next time.